Memory Card Archives Online. Welcome to the archives.
Imagine you're standing on one side of a massive open world. Your next objective is 10 minutes away. You could ride there, you could walk there, or you could simply open the map and teleport directly to your destination. Most players don't think twice about that choice, but game developers do. For more than 20 years, designers have been arguing over one surprisingly simple question: how much of the journey should players be allowed to skip? Some games want travel to feel meaningful, others want it to disappear entirely. Some treat fast travel as a reward, others see it as a necessary convenience. And the way a game answers that question can completely change how its world feels. Today, we're exploring the history of fast travel, how it evolved into one of gaming's most common mechanics, and why developers still can't agree on the right way to do it. The origins of fast travel begin with a problem every open world developer eventually encounters: distance. The larger a world becomes, the more time players spend moving through it, and eventually that raises an uncomfortable question. At what point does travel stop being adventure and start becoming a chore? Early RPGs largely avoided the problem. Their worlds were smaller. Many used overworld maps that compressed long journeys into simplified movement. But as games became larger and more detailed, players were asked to spend more and more time walking between objectives. Developers needed a solution, not because travel was bad, but because repeated travel often was. The first fast travel systems were designed to increase immersion. They were designed to reduce frustration. Once that door opened, game design would never be the same. Once developers realized players liked skipping repetitive travel, fast travel spread rapidly, and with each generation, it became easier. Early systems often required players to find transportation networks, and games began allowing travel between major cities. Eventually, developers removed almost every restriction. Discover a location once, click it on the map, instantly arrive. By the late 2000s and early 2010s, this approach had become the industry standard. Players expected it. Reviewers expected it. Entire open worlds were designed around it. And yet something strange happened. As fast travel became more convenient, some developers started questioning whether they had gone too far. Because every time a player teleports, they skip part of the world the developers spent years creating. Roads become irrelevant, distances become meaningless, random discoveries become less common. Fast travel solved one problem beautifully, but it created another. And that's where the debate really begins. If modern fast travel is about convenience, Morrowind was about understanding. Released in 2002, Morrowind arrived before developers had settled on what open world exploration was supposed to look like. There were no glowing GPS paths, no objective markers leading players directly to their destination, and perhaps most surprisingly, there was no universal fast travel button. At first, this sounds frustrating. For a modern player, it can feel downright hostile. But Morrowind's travel system wasn't designed to save time. It was designed to teach geography. The game's world is connected through a network of transportation systems. Silt Striders carry passengers between settlements. Boats connect coastal regions. Mage Guild guides teleport players between major cities. Mark and Recall spells allow magical shortcuts. Divine and Almsevilla intervention teleport players to specific religious locations. None of these systems cover the entire map. That's the point. Players have to learn how they connect together. Eventually, traveling across the world becomes its own skill. Veteran players can mentally map routes faster than newcomers can even open the map screen. Need to reach a town on the opposite side of the island? You might take a Silt Strider to Balmora, then a guild guide to Aldrune, then another transportation service to your destination. It sounds complicated, but something interesting happens. The world begins to feel real. Cities develop identities because you've actually traveled between them. Distances feel meaningful because you've experienced them. Regions become memorable because they aren't simply icons on a menu. Morrowind's fast travel succeeds because it strengthens immersion, yet it's also the reason many players bounce off the game today. Backtracking can be slow. Quest directions can be confusing. New players often feel lost. Sometimes reaching a destination becomes more work than the destination itself. And that's the trade-off. Morrowind treats travel as gameplay. The question is whether you find that gameplay enjoyable. Nine years later, Skyrim represented almost the complete opposite philosophy. Instead of asking players to learn the world, Skyrim asked a simpler question. What if we just remove the inconvenience? The rules are incredibly straightforward. Discover a location once, open the map, click the location, instantly arrive. No resources required, no transportation routes, no restrictions, no planning. Just convenience. It's easy to understand why this approach became so popular. Skyrim is massive. Players constantly receive quests from every corner of the map. One mission sends you north, another sends you south. A third requires returning to a city you've already visited dozens of times. Without fast travel, much of the game's pacing would grind to a halt. The system respects the player's time, and for many people, that's exactly what a good fast travel system should do. But Skyrim also reveals one of fast travel's biggest weaknesses. Distance loses meaning. Think about your first journey to High Hrothgar. Climbing the mountain feels significant. The trip is memorable because of the effort involved. Now think about your 10th visit. You probably clicked on the map. What was once a journey becomes a loading screen. This creates an interesting paradox. Skyrim's world is enormous, yet after enough fast travel, it can start feeling surprisingly small. Locations become disconnected from one another. The roads between cities stop mattering. Random encounters become less common because players spend less time actually moving through the world. It's an incredibly efficient system, but efficiency isn't always the same thing as immersion. And over the next decade, countless open world games would copy Skyrim's approach almost exactly. If Skyrim represents maximum convenience, Red Dead Redemption 2 represents temptation. The game technically includes fast travel, but everything about its design feels like Rockstar gently asking you not to use it. This is because Red Dead's world isn't just a backdrop, it's the content. Traveling through the world is where the stories happen. You set out toward a mission marker and suddenly encounter a man trapped beneath his horse. You hear gunshots in the distance. You discover a cabin hidden deep in the woods. A stranger challenges you to a shooting contest. A robbery unfolds on the roadside. A random conversation reveals a new questline. These moments aren't marked on the map. They're discovered naturally. And that's what makes Red Dead's approach so clever. The game understands that players often optimize the fun out of their own experience. Given the option, many people will teleport directly to objectives. But by doing so, they skip the very moments that make the world feel alive. Even the horseback travel itself serves a purpose. The slower pace allows players to absorb the environment. Mountains feel massive, storms feel dramatic, towns feel distinct because you physically travel between them. Of course there are downsides. Not every trip is exciting. Sometimes you really do just want to turn in a quest without riding across half the map. Some players found the travel deliberately slow. Others found it immersive. The reason Red Dead's system works is because the world justifies it. The journey consistently rewards your attention, and that's the secret. Players are willing to travel when travel itself is entertaining. Then we arrive at Dragon's Dogma 2, a game that managed to reignite a debate most people thought had already been settled. Modern players generally expected unlimited fast travel. Dragon's Dogma 2 disagreed. The game allows fast travel, but heavily restricts it. Teleportation requires fairy stones, consumable items that are valuable and somewhat limited. Players must also place port crystals in strategic locations to create destinations worth teleporting to. In other words, every fast travel decision has a cost. You have to ask yourself whether the trip is worth spending resources. This design forces players to spend far more time walking through the world than most modern RPGs, and that decision became controversial almost immediately. Some players loved it, others hated it. Supporters argued that the restriction made exploration meaningful. Roads became important, monsters remained threatening. The world felt large because players actually experienced its size. Critics argue that the system confused inconvenience with depth. A long walk isn't automatically engaging simply because it's long. The fascinating part is that both sides had valid points. Dragon's Dogma 2 exposes the central conflict at the heart of fast travel design. Developers want players to engage with their worlds. Players often want to reach their objectives efficiently. Those goals aren't always compatible, and unlike Skyrim, which fully embraced convenience, Dragon's Dogma 2 intentionally chose friction. Whether that's brilliant or frustrating depends entirely on what you value in an open-world game. For more than 20 years, developers have been trying to solve the same problem. How do you move players through a massive world without wasting their time? The answer seems simple: give them a fast travel button. But as we've seen, that button changes far more than just how players move around a map. Morrowind used travel to teach players its world. Skyrim prioritized convenience and accessibility. Red Dead Redemption 2 turned the journey itself into the experience. Dragon's Dogma 2 challenged the idea that players should be able to skip travel whenever they want. Each game was solving the same problem. Each arrived at a completely different answer. And that's what makes fast travel so fascinating. It's one of the few mechanics that reveals what a game truly values. Does the developer want you to experience the world? Do they want to respect your time? Do they want exploration to feel meaningful? Or do they simply want you to get to the next objective as quickly as possible? Every fast travel system is answering those questions, whether players realize it or not. Because fast travel was never really about getting from point A to point B. It's about deciding what parts of a game are worth experiencing, and what parts are worth skipping. And judging by the fact that developers are still debating it decades later, that's a question gaming hasn't fully answered yet.